Well, actually, I'd give it to Lori if I had it, though. There you go.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the administrative meeting, August 28th.
He's going.
We are starting. It's okay. August 28th, administrative meeting. Art and John are here and full committee, and we'll get started with the minutes.
They look good to me.
And yes?
Yes.
Yes, all is good. So the minutes are approved. And the first item is to talk about the 5-year lease agreement with Virgil Phillips Farm. This was the most interesting lease agreement. It was so cool. I thought it was.
I don't think I've
Hi,
ever
Dwight.
been that excited about a lease agreement.
Glad we can make you happy.
It usually means bad things for lawyers.
Yeah.
No, it was just so, there was so much history in it. It was so good. Hi, Dwight.
Hello. Thank you. Of course, this is a lease renewal we've had with Latah County. Latah County Parks and Recreation manages and operates Virgil Phillips Farm. And as you know, it's a 160-acre tract that's out north of town. And they've been doing a really good job. And as staff, we didn't see any reason to change that. So this is a renewal that will take effect the 1st of October of this year and go 5 years until 2022. This does come with a $5,000 cost maintenance share that we have been doing for the last 5 years. And of course, this has been reviewed by the city attorney and Parks and Rec. We've been apprised of the issues that go on out there, the projects and things for years. Anything that needs to come before council has, and just because it's fresh on our minds, we do have 2 bathrooms now within this last year. So there is a restroom facility out there that's really nice. And they paid for that, but that does actually belong to the city of Moscow now. So they've been doing a really good job, and they've been good to work with. And let's see, just before I forget, on the lease agreement, the first page, the last whereas, I caught one. It's just a typo. It says 2012. It should be 2017. And we'll make sure, and I think it's already done, but we'll have that corrected for the council meeting.
I had a question about when I was looking at the budget. It said it actually costs more money. I mean, like we give $5,000 and the county gives $5,000, but when you looked at the expenditures, it looked like it was actually more than that, and then just the county just picks up whatever's just ever.
We have $5,000 and the rest is theirs.
They do the whole thing.
But they do lots of things to raise money, including grants. The restroom facility, they started the talks on that clear back in 2014, and it took almost 3 years to get that through and done, which they just finished at the last of July here. So, yeah.
That's good. And the other thing I just had a question about is originally when Virgil Phillips, bequeathed it, it was for the kids for Moscow, the city of Moscow. Does it make a difference of what his bequeath said that we share with the county?
I can answer that. First off, Moscow's been extraordinarily fortunate in getting the Virgil Phillips Farm, which is much more complex than it looks on this lease. It actually came to the city. Some property in Montana came to the city. There was sales, consolidations that ended up at the 160 acres that is the Virgil Phillips Farm at this point. There was also a couple of houses that were donated by the Holidays. Of course, the Hamilton, Carter Egan donated money to help build the Egan Youth Center. So we've been very fortunate with the generosity of our citizens. The Phillips Farm property, we looked at it. It was problematic for years. We leased it with Better Living, Inc. for probably 10 years. When Loretta Stauber was the chair of Better Living, Inc., and they turned it into a nature park type situation. When Better Living, Inc. got out of it, Loretta became a county commissioner. The county Parks and Rec looked at it and decided that they wanted to take it over if the city wanted them to. the will stated again for the benefit of the children of the city of Moscow. Just because it benefits the children of the city doesn't mean it can't benefit other children, which is the same thing, same interpretation that the council used in allowing $1 million to assist with the Palouse ice rink, which it's on county land, the ice rink itself, and the lease from Latah County to the ice rink says for the benefit of the children of Latah County, also inclusive of the children of the city. So we don't see any issue with that. There was a time years ago when the council was considering selling the Phillips Farm property, but we aren't allowed to do that. When it was bequeathed to the city, we accepted it. It was a condition of our coming into possession of it. So at that point, we looked at Parks and Rec. Is it something that we wanted to maintain as a city park? Administration at that time, Randy Rice was the Parks and Rec director. Parks and Rec Commission recommended that really didn't have a business having a 160-acre park outside of the city limits. So it was a great partnership that we had with Latah County. The $5,000 is not out of the ordinary. We also contribute $5,000 for the maintenance of the Latah Trail and some amount of money for the maintenance of the Chipman Trail. So it's kind of a joint thing that assists us in entitling our residents to go use these facilities as well. So it's a great collaborative partnership.
And the other thing I had a question about was all the dogs, because we keep having all these dog conversations with the parks. And I didn't remember, and I go out there a lot. You probably would answer this. Do we provide the dog bags? There's nothing like that.
Not out there.
And does the county?
Well, I don't know if they've put out the dog. They're not. Well, you can have a dog out there on leash, even though that's not typically what happens out there. But we don't supply anything for maintenance other than the money.
Okay. I just wondered if maybe that was something, because we're out there with dogs a lot, and it was even pretty specific. Like you have to have it on a leash. Like you can't call your dog back off leash. It has to be on the leash. And I know how most people are with their dogs out there. And so I was just kind of curious if we were going to ever do anything in that direction, because as more and more people use it, because you have all the track stuff and all the...
I would encourage you to contact Latah County Parks and Rec if you think that's a concern, and then they can deal with it as the management of the park.
Yeah, I will do that.
I actually had a conversation with their director, Andy Grant, just today on dogs.
Oh, did you?
And he... Now, I don't know how far he's gotten with this discussion, but they're actually looking, or he's talking about something like we've got at Mountain View Park, an area out there that would be off leash, but it didn't sound like he'd gotten any further than just kind of thinking about it. So, but the dog issue has been a problem for them.
Yeah, it's coming on, and more people are using the park. All ages. Okay, well, good. I will contact him and just ask too, and say that you talked about it at the committee meeting. Yeah, so we're like, do something with the dogs. We'll help you out. Okay. Is there anything else?
Oh, I would just agree with what Dwight and what Gary said. This has been nothing but a positive thing for the city of Moscow, and I think for Latah County, and we're getting a pretty good deal for our money spent and the results that come from that money. I think we're well ahead of the $5,000 a year, and it's a well-maintained facility, and now it's got a couple restrooms in it. It's probably going to get more use, and the operation, like I said, has been very good. They take good care of it. And it kind of a two-edged sword, two-edged coin is sometimes I think it's not used enough, but at the same time it's always available to be used, and I think that is of similar value than something that you have to try to reserve 6 months in advance.
Right.
So I'm perfectly fine with this.
Okay.
Anything I say would be entirely redundant.
Okay. And regular agenda?
We have a very light agenda for the next council meeting, so, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay, that's what from what I remember.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
Mike.
you.
And then our second thing, when we get to it. It's just amazing all the stuff they've done with that land. That's what was so interesting, all the different tree stands and stuff. All right, and then we need the master agreement for services with the University of Idaho. And it's you, Gary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we have is the master agreement for emergency services with the University of Idaho. We've provided emergency services, police services specifically, and fire services for many, many years on campus. Probably since the 60s, I would imagine. The U of I's never had their own police force. They've had different types of services like night watch. They've got a private security service supplementing the police services agreement now. In 2010, I believe it was, or 12, if memory serves, 2010, the U of I called for requests for proposals that they needed to find out if anybody else was, under their current processes, whether anybody else wanted to provide those services. So we put a pretty comprehensive omnibus presentation proposal in front of them. We were the only respondents at that time, and that's natural. The only police services or folks with arrest powers who can operate within the City of Moscow or City of Moscow Police, Latah County Sheriffs, and State Police. So if the State Police and the Latah County Sheriff weren't interested, then obviously Moscow would be the only player. We responded, really described in detail the services that were going to be provided, and we provided those services for the 3-year initial term. That expired in 2014. It was extended 1 year by letter from the Vice President for Financial Services, Ron Smith. So that expired in October of 2015. At that time, Ron had left the university. Dan Ewert had been named the new VP for services. So we were in the process of trying to consolidate not only the police services, fire, emergency services, and dispatch services into one agreement. So it's taken us a couple of years to get that done. Recently, UI General Counsel says that the agreement looks good. We can move forward. As you can see, it is about a $1,300,000. Let me get the number here. Let's see. Sorry, I thought I had that written in my presentation, but I don't.
Well, the agreement had so
$1,376,920. And that includes funds that they'd previously paid for police services, fire services, and dispatch services. And of course, dispatch is provided through our contract with Whitcomb, and fire services through our Moscow Fire Department. There's also an escalator provision keeping pace with inflation of 3% per year. It's a 3-year contract, and it has rights to renew after that by mutual agreement of the parties. It really is a great agreement. You'll hear from UI administration that the great thing about it is that the law enforcement people get downtown is the same law enforcement they get on campus. So you don't have that split as you do with some universities having their own police force. It's great to get this in place. They've been, the U of I has been compensating the city for these services over the last year and a half as a continuation of that 2010 agreement. So it's good to get it updated, and this works very well, and we'd recommend council approve.
And then I was just looking at and for the term, so we've got the 3-year and then 1 3-year term extension.
Yes.
Is that okay. And then you'll look at the whole thing again.
Yeah, the idea is if there's something new that's come up that is of interest to the city or the university, then would be the time to say, okay, we really need to change this up a little bit.
Okay, good. John, you have anything?
I'm fine with it. I was on the council when we first put it in, and there was a lot of discussion about, well, the things that Gary was talking about. And from the city's point of view, there was some consternation about the university hiring the security company, and that has worked really quite well. And I think it hasn't really done anything to the arrest power, but it has done some real positive things about having security people moving around campus, especially in the middle of the night. And the people that they hire, they aren't cops, but they do have a certain amount of authority to
Somebody
maintain,
watching, right?
yeah, maintain order, and they do a good job with that. And I think the university figures they're saving some money by hiring the security firm instead of putting one or two more cops on full-time to take care of the not only the patrolling at night, but with the athletic events, the music events. They've got some people there, and they can get 2 or 3 people. Most of the time, you don't need a cop. You just need someone to show you where to sit, or why don't you knock that off, type of thing. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Anything?
No, I was impressed with the scope and detail
Yeah.
present in this agreement. We almost ran out of alphabet listing the things to do. It seems to work very well, and I think the university is definitely getting the bang for their buck, given what the city agrees to do. One question, what's the Clary Act?
Clary Act is a federal regulation that regulates information from students and what information can be gleaned from arrests, student records, those sorts of things. I'm no expert on it, but it has to do with privacy and disclosure of information.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm quite in favor of it. I think it's a good agreement. It's working well for both entities. If it's not broke, don't screw it up.
Okay. And so we'll just put it on regular agenda then?
Thank you very much.
Okay, and you said there's one last thing that you wanted to talk about with farmers market.
Yes, I would ask the committee to amend the agenda to include a discussion item, and that is farmers market fees. And the reason is because there was a mistake that we caught late in the resolution that needs to be clarified well in advance of the implementation of fees on October 1st. So with that, I'd ask that you allow me to discuss that with you.
Please do that.
Okay. You have to have a vote on it.
So just to put it on
the
our...
agenda to add that discussion item.
I'd like to... Oh, can I do the movement as chair?
You bet you can.
Oh, I'd like to move to add that to our discussion.
I can second that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you. You'll see in last city council meeting, the council approved the resolution implementing the 2018 fee resolution to take place on October 1st of 2017, FY 2018. One of the things that we did, and it was a little bit out of sync in time, council directed that Farmers Market Commission bring a proposal for revamping the farmers market fees. It was our anticipation direction that those fees would take place for the 2018 market season, not to take FY 2017 fees and change them on October 1st when there's only 4 weeks of the market left. Because of the structure that was presented and council accepted, it has to do with how many times the vendor is involved in the market. The fee is kind of a sliding scale to a certain extent. So just wanted to inform the committee that we will be coming to City Council either with a report or an action item that assures everyone that those farmers market fees are intended to take place for the FY 2018, but the 2018 market season.
Farmers market season. Okay. Yeah, I understand it. And I think putting it on regular agenda so you can explain it is a good thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, there's nothing else on the agenda unless there's anything else you have?
Nope.
Nope. All right. With that, we'll move to close.
Well done.
Thank you.
property line with those structures. Anything over 200 square feet in size essentially has a 5-foot setback